Cam Skattebo is at the NFL Scouting Combine this week with one mission in mind: prove you're the best running back in this class.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Shout out to my everydayers who are here every day, and thanks to all of you for making us your first listen of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, the Scouting Combine is here. Cam Skattebo is the lone Sun Devil at the Combine. What does he need to do to be able to show himself off? Who are the teams that are going to be taking a look at Cam Skattebo, and who are the Sun Devils who were snubbed of the Combine? All of that is coming up on today's show. If you are a big-time NFL fan and an even bigger NFL draft fan, then you know that the NFL Scouting Combine is one of the best events of the year. Look, we have to go 6 more months before we get preseason football. That's a long time for NFL fans. And we will take whatever we can get in the meantime to cure our insatiable and unquenchable need for football content. Free agency is around the corner. The draft is a couple of months away. So let's enjoy the Scouting Combine. And this is a great opportunity for players to come out and show they belong at the next level. They can show off their athleticism. They can show off how good they are when it comes to catching the football or any kind of true athletic abilities when it comes to bending your hips. How strong are you? How high can you jump? How do you do in interviews with really weird questions? This is a great opportunity. And this is a huge opportunity for Cam Skattebo. More importantly, Cam Skattebo, the people's running back, as we call here on Locked On Sun Devils, because he can run it, he can catch it, he can pass it, he can punt it, and he's your mom's favorite player. He is facing a massive opportunity here to make himself some serious money. Let's flash back to last summer, 2024. And Cam Skattebo decides he's going to come back for his senior season for the Arizona State Sun Devils. And he sits down with head coach Kenny Dillingham. And coach tells him, look, if you want to go pro, we got some work to do. We got to get you a nutritionist. We got to get you in the weight room. We got to start getting you into NFL shape. Where you're at right now is not going to get you to the pros. So what do we see? We see Cam Skattebo go all in. You could tell that he went from this really exciting player in 2023 to a player in 2024 that you're like, there's no way he won't get to the pros. Like, he's going to get there and he's going to make a team very, very happy. And we saw that throughout the course of the season. In fact, it felt like with each passing week that Cam Skattebo was just getting better and better and better and better. And he's a really good runner between the tackles. The contact balance is out of this world. He's just a human pinball. You think you can get him down, you're wrong. The arm tackles aren't working. Throw your shoulder, that's not going to work either. He can catch the football very well. We see him on trick plays too. He's phenomenal. But there are a lot of questions that need to be answered about Cam Skattebo, because there is legitimate concerns that he may not be the level of athlete or have the same athleticism that some of these guys at the next level have. I mean, if we were to compare Cam Skattebo to Saquon Barkley or Christian McCaffrey or Alvin Kamara when they were coming out and going pro, he's just not in that category. Those guys are prolific athletes. And Skattebo, like, it's no fault of him. He doesn't control that. He's just not what those guys are. So he needs to be able to come out into this combine and at a minimum just prove, like, hey, I'm better than what you think I am. Like, I'm not this limited athlete that is just able to take advantage of lower level competition. Like, he didn't play in the SEC. He didn't play in the Big Ten. Still played Power 4 football, but he wasn't playing Alabama on a consistent basis. When he played Texas, an SEC team, he showed off. And I mean, he had to work very hard for the numbers that he put up in that game, numbers that got him the Peach Bowl MVP award, which had never been given out to a player on the losing team. That's how good he was. but he's got to be able to show that that's going to translate to the next level. So there's a handful of things that he needs to focus on. The most important events, that's where we'll start. I have 3 events here through the combine. There's a ton of stuff that goes through the combine. Some of it is more important than others. Some of it's really cool to see. Some of it is like, hey, this is a drill that like NFL scouts and GMs and coaches are paying the most attention to. This is the stuff that really matters at the next level. An example, the 40-yard dash. That's the main event, right? Everyone wants to watch 40-yard dash. Henry Ruggs and Xavier Worthy, goodness, I couldn't get there, were guys that when they went to the combine, it was like, oh, they might break the record that Chris Johnson set. They might break the record that John Ross set for the fastest 40 time. And lo and behold, we saw Henry Ruggs was under 4.3. He didn't quite get there. John Ross had broken Chris Johnson's record right before Xavier Worthy broke John Ross's record. Like, it's an exciting event. It's not the most important event, but there is value to it. Funny enough, that's one of the 3 events that I think Cam Skattebo needs to really show off at. There's a lot of people who think that he is a 4.6 or slower guy. At the end of the day, I'm not running a 4.6. I'm not running a sub 6, more than likely. If I got a 5.9, I'd be thrilled. 4.6 is fast. But when you compare it to defensive backs and linebackers who are running 4.5s, yeah, that's just not going to cut it. You take away the long plays here. So Cam's biggest goal, get under a 4.6 for sure. Like that's one of the biggest goals that he has, period. And we're going to talk about the goals overall in just a minute. More importantly than anything is your 10-yard split. How quickly you are able to accelerate out of a stance is what the teams care about the most. Long speed, that's cool. Like there's no doubt that extra value is added to those guys who are running sub 4.3s, but especially with like offensive linemen and tight ends and stuff like that, you just want to see how quickly they can get out of their stance. But this is also important for Cam Skattebo, who is trying to prove, hey, I'm a better athlete than what you think I am. So how quickly he can get out of a stance and just get to that full speed, that's really, really important for him. He needs to have a good one. Second event here is the broad jump. Broad jump, it's kind of weird because you look at the broad jump and on the surface, you're like, that's not really the biggest deal. But one of the things that really is important with the broad jump is your ability to create that explosiveness from your stance and everything to being able to lift yourself up and get as far distance as you possibly can. Like we saw Byron Jones, who was coming out of UConn, I believe, back in 2015. And there was like talks and conversation of like, maybe he could get in the first round, but he goes out and sets a broad jump record. And you're like, okay, yeah, that is a first round pick because teams see that. And that's athleticism. That's explosiveness. You don't just go out on a broad jump and put up the numbers that some of these guys do. So I don't know what Cam should be shooting for, but the better a broad jump he can get, the better shape he'll be in. The third important event, and I would argue outside of the 40 really is super important for Cam. Normally it's not for these guys, but he's got to show it. But the 3-cone drill is going to be really important for him because what you want to see with the 3-cone drill, is the ability to bend your hips and get around sharp angles and corners. Like if I'm running it, right, I'm doing really slow U-turns. Like I am moving like the Saint Marie of I'm moving like the Titanic, if you will. You want to see these guys that are able to just so quickly move their bodies and get around that corner of where that cone is planted. And that's going to show NFL teams how you're able to bend, twist, and move around quickly. If you don't have that ability to get around the corner really, really quick, there's going to be some questions about, how athletic is this guy really? Is he more of a straight up and down guy, or can I trust him to be able to bend and dip and get what I need him to do? These are the events for Cam Skattebo. You got to show that you're quick out of your stance, and if you can get that long speed, that is super ideal. But with the broad jump and the 3-cone, that's going to be explosiveness. What can you do with your body? How far can you throw yourself, and the hips especially? Here's a handful of goals that I have for Cam Skattebo. Goal number 1, it's that 40 time. under a 4.6. 4.59. Perfect. Sounds good. Obviously, you'd prefer him to get in that mid-5 range. If he could get low 5s or even like high 4s, that'd be nuts. If he runs a 4.49, that is such a dramatic win for Cam Skattebo, and it'd be one of the biggest wins at the combine, period. He's got to do good in that. Number 2, you need to walk away from Indianapolis proving that you are among the best, and I would say you need to prove you are the best pass catcher of the running backs there. And there are some good pass catchers that are going into this draft class. There are guys who specialize as pass catchers. Cam Skattebo, that was one of the things that really separated himself at Arizona State, was like, yeah, he's a good runner. He can run you over. He has real estate in the end zone, but he's a really good pass catcher. All 4 years in college, 2 at Sacramento State, 2 at Arizona State, he averaged over 10 yards a carry every single one of those years. He can catch the football, and he can make plays after the catch. If he is able to go through the drills and show that, like, yeah, I got sticky hands, I can run really good routes and not drop anything, that's going to be huge for Cam Skattebo. That's got to be one of his biggest goals too. And finally, goal number 3, nail the interviews. There's this perception that like Cam Skattebo is like immature. And I don't know where that comes from, because if you sit down and have a conversation with Cam Skattebo, he is one of the most down-to-earth guys. Like he's genuinely a very nice person, but he's going to tell you what it is. Like he's come out in press conferences and he swears, which that's not really what we're used to in the media. We expect these guys to come out and just be really clean spoken and everything, but Cam will tell you what it is. If he's pissed off, he's going to tell you, hey, I'm freaking pissed off, but he didn't use the word freaking. Like he is, for better or for worse, someone that is just going to call it as it is. And I love that about him. But there are some people who didn't like that. And especially during the Texas game, like there was something of him on the sidelines and he was pissed off early in the game and he said like, I'm effing done or something like that. And so many people tried to spin that. That's insane. You're in the middle of a football game and he's frustrated. Why are you trying to take that and twist it into this guy doesn't care and he's all about himself and blah, blah, blah? That's terrible. No, that's not what that's about. You don't know anything about Cam Skattebo if that's the angle you're trying to use here. He just needs to come out, be your most authentic self. Don't back down off of what you have done. Don't come out and try and be someone different than what you are. And most importantly, double down that you're the best running back in this draft class, because he said he was the best running back in the nation going up against Texas. Everyone laughed at him, and then he goes on to do what he does, and everyone's like, got an argument. Best running back in the nation. Don't be shy. Double down for this draft class. Say, I'm the best. 3 guys that he needs to do better than before we go ahead and move on. I just want to throw this out there. He is competing, obviously, with Ashton Genty, but Omarion Hampton, Isaiah Johnson are the other guys that I would put at the top of that running back group that he's got to be able to find a way to separate himself from. There's several guys in this class that's a very good draft class. Like the 2 Ohio State kids are going to have a lot of attention. But I need Cam Skattebo to come out. I need him to show off athleticism that people don't believe he has. I need him to nail the interviews, and we'll see what happens after that. These are the teams that need to be paying the most attention to Cam Skattebo. Coming up next, this is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It's time to talk to you guys about our friends over at Roy. Attention, Locked On Sun Devil fans. The future of college sports is here, and it's transparent. Before the Roy app, NIL negotiations, they happen under the table more often than not, and fans didn't have a way to clearly direct their support for the athletes they loved. And with Roy, you are able to be a part of the change and support Arizona State athletes in the most transparent way possible. The Roy app, an NIL app, allows you to choose the player you want to support. You want to support Cam Skattebo specifically? You can choose Cam Skattebo. You can decide how much you want to contribute. $5, $500. That's up to you. And you can receive exclusive content from the athletes back. Whoever you're contributing to, they're going to let you know they appreciate it. The best part, if your player transfers, you're going to get your money back. So it's risk-free and a great way to show your support. The Roy app is giving fans control. There's no more uncertainty. Now you can provide transparent, impactful support and help shape the team and the future of college sports with your contributions. Download the Roy app now from the App Store and start backing Arizona State athletes the way they deserve with transparency, trust, and a real impact. The future of college sports is here. Join it now by downloading Roy, ROY, and supporting your favorite players today. Thanks as always for tuning in to make Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. A shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Who are the teams that need to be taking a look at Cam Skattebo the most? I have got more than a handful. I've got 3 teams I want to dissect very, very specifically, but there's a handful of teams that just need to look out for them in general. Let's go ahead and start with those teams. Number 1, and I would put them near the top. This is like the honorable mention for me, is the Minnesota Vikings. There is no one on that roster right now. I 100% am predicting that Aaron Jones, who ran 4,000 yards for them last year, will be returning, but Jones is in the twilight of his career. He's in the dreaded age 30s, right? They are going to add somebody in this draft. I'm 100% positive Cam Skattebo should be atop that list. Pittsburgh Steelers, same thing. There's not really anyone on this roster that is screaming out to me. They could re-sign Najee Harris. Like, they could. It doesn't really do anything for me. The backup on their team, oh my goodness, of course I can't remember his name. It'll come to me. He's a stud. They need somebody who's going to be able to play with him as well and just kind of have that shakeup. The Las Vegas Raiders, they just need something in that backfield. They need something to be able to run the football, be the center of the offense. And he's also someone who would sell jerseys. Like, people would look at Cam Skattebo and go, yeah, that's a really good player. I want to get his jersey. Like, a lot of people know who Cam is, and Cam is going to have a lot of fanfare with the draft. Whether or not he dominates the combine or not, there's going to be a lot of fans who tune in to his highlights, right? One of my favorite things that fans will do, and a very good friend of mine, funny enough, former co-host of this podcast, Connor Trios, way back when, his favorite thing to do during the draft process is just pull up a player and go to their highlight reel and just go on YouTube and like, oh, here's a 15-minute video of Cam Skattebo highlights. There are thousands of NFL fans who will do that. Just look up their favorite players and they'll see a highlight reel of Cam Skattebo and they'll go, yeah, I want him on that team. I want him on my team. Raiders fans, they'll do that. They're going to see Skattebo and they're going to go, yep, he's pretty good. New York Giants I have up there too. It's a fine room. I know that they had a kid this past year who was pretty solid. I can't remember his name either, of course. They could use an upgrade. Same with the Cleveland Browns. Like, I know that Jerome Ford is still there. They're moving on from Nick Chubb. But that's also a fan base similar to the Raiders that you need someone to get the fans reinvested because they are in dark times right now. The Baltimore Ravens, yes, I am a Ravens fan. I am biased. Of course I want him to be a Raven. But they don't really have anyone behind Derrick Henry. Like, there's fine options. Like, I know a lot of fans are big on Keaton Mitchell, and I am too, but he hasn't really been consistent enough. And Derrick Henry, as great as he is, he's an okay pass catcher. Cam Skattebo comes in to be the pass catcher. All right, those teams out of the way. These are the 3 teams that need to be paying attention the most for Cam Skattebo in Indianapolis. Number 1, and this is in order, by the way. Number 1, without question, the Denver Broncos need to be paying attention to Cam Skattebo. More than any other team, the Denver Broncos. Here's why. Their current running back room, they've got 4 guys, and honestly, in today's NFL, or at least what used to be today's NFL, you get away with what we call a running back by committee. You don't need an ace running back in the backfield. The days of Adrian Peterson's, LaDainian Tomlinson's, they're not really here anymore. You get that room of guys that you can rotate. Like, look at the Bengals a handful of years ago, and they had Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Hill. Jeremy Hill, what a throwback name, huh? They were a playoff team just from those two going back and forth. And, like, neither of them was this elite running back, but they got enough from it. Like, that's what matters. So you look at this running back room, and there's Tyler Beatty, there's Audric Estime. I really like Estime, by the way. Julian McLaughlin, Blake Watson. Sure, you could get it done with some of those guys contributing, but there's not one guy there that I go, wow, that's a game changer. And now we look at the landscape of the current NFL. Look at 3 teams that made the playoffs last year with the Eagles, who won the Super Bowl, the Ravens, who won their division, and the Green Bay Packers, who made the playoffs despite being 3rd place in their division. That's how good they were able to stand out. What did they all have in common? They paid running backs. The Ravens got Derrick Henry. The Eagles got Saquon Barkley, ran for over 2,000 yards. Henry, by the way, over 1,900. And the Packers bring in Josh Jacobs, who dominated for them. 1,600 rushing yards or something like that. Yeah. Paying running backs, turns out it works out. The Denver Broncos should be looking into something like that, especially because Sean Payton offenses historically work much better with a really good running back. When he had Alvin Kamara, when he had Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, Pierre Thomas, I could throw out so many names from when he was the Saints, they had their best success. They just made the playoffs this past season because Bo Nix, talk about him in a second, they were really able to get stuff going. But you know what they could use as an upgrade at running back? Put Cam Skattebo back there. They're going to be good. Now with Bo Nix, first of all, Bo Nix Truther. Bo Nix Truther, that's my dude. I went to bat for him last year, and I was laughed at. I will go to war for Bo Nix. He proved a lot of people wrong because he was a questionable athlete. And it's like, well, he doesn't have the best arm strength. He's not the best athlete, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, you know what? Sometimes guys are just good at football. Can you imagine the same narrative surrounding Cam Skattebo? He's not athletic enough. He's not big enough. He's not fast enough. Sometimes dudes are just good at football. And all of a sudden you see Bo Nix and Cam Skattebo become like faces of the league. That'd be really cool. Number 2 team, the Dallas Cowboys. I know that's not what Cardinal fans want to hear, and I know there's a lot of Cardinal fans that are tuning into this show. But they have a history of getting the most out of their running back room. Rico Dowdle last year. Rico Dowdle, who nobody knew going into last year, ran for over 1,000 yards. He got really hot down the stretch of the season. They just know what they're doing with the running back position. Darren McFadden, who was injury-prone his whole career, ran for 1,000 yards in 2015 when he was thought to be completely washed up. And then, same thing as a Sean Payton offense is the Cowboys are at their best, and they are playoff caliber teams when they have great running backs. DeMarco Murray in his prime and Ezekiel Elliott in his prime made the Cowboys one of the scariest teams in the regular season before they wet the bed in the playoffs. Neither here nor there. Get them that guy who is going to be the star running back for them, pun intended. This is the CeeDee Lamb show and friends. There's no one else on this offense that is threatening right now. Jake Ferguson's a quality tight end, but that's where it starts and ends. They need somebody to help take away some of the attention from the passing game. Cam Skattebo does that. And of course, it gives Dak Prescott that check down option as a really good receiver. Last team. Oh, speaking of the Arizona Cardinals, come on, you didn't think I was going to leave your Cardinals out, did you? Yes, the Arizona Cardinals are in this. Now, I hear what you're saying. They don't need a running back. And I agree with you. They just gave James Conner another extension, which I would imagine runs through the remainder of his career because he is much closer to 30 than he is 25. He's slowing down-ish, but the role they have him in is a really good one. And he's run for 1,000 yards back-to-back seasons. They also have Trey Benson, who is likely the future of the backfield. Imari DiMercado, he is slept on. And there's other guys in this room too. DJ Dallas is a quality guy. Michael Carter, he was quietly good last year. They don't need a running back. But why not? Why not give them Cam freaking Skattebo? Give the Valley a Valley legend and watch him ignite this fan base. Cardinal fans are, look, man, it's been a rough time, period. Since the Phoenix Cardinals arrived back in I don't remember how long ago it was. It was the 90s for sure. Was it back in the 80s? Someone let me know in the comments. There's been few things to get excited about. Like Larry Fitzgerald, there was plenty of guys on defense, Calais Campbell, Patrick Peterson, although I know he's left a bad taste in everyone's mouth, rightfully so. Carlos Dansby, Anquan Bolden, Darnell Dockett, like Calais Campbell. There's been a lot of guys to get fans excited, but they haven't done anything with them. You add Cam Skattebo to the equation. Everybody in the Valley is familiar with Cam Skattebo at this point in time. That gets fans excited. They go, oh my God, the ASU legend is staying in the Valley. Yeah, I want to go see him. I want to see him from Sun Devil Stadium to State Farm Stadium. That gets fans excited. That's how you get the people in the seats. That's how you get them invested in a football team that is on the upswing. They were 8-9 last year. They were a great start before a pathetic finish to the year. They're going to figure it out. I totally believe in Jonathan Gannon and Monty Austin for it. But if you get them a superstar like Cam Skattebo into a backfield that is already loaded with James Conner and Trey Benson just by themselves, let alone Amari DiMercado, and I'm really high on him. That is a plus running back room. James Conner, he is getting closer to 30 than he is 25. Find a way to keep him fresh, because right now he's still playing at an exceptional level. He's a Pro Bowl level player. How are you going to continue to get the most out of him? Well, you need to keep him fresh, especially with this contract extension. You don't want it to come back and bite you in the butt, because it's like, well, you gave money to a guy who was aging and was showing signs of slowing down. Well, you rotate him with Cam Skattebo, you rotate him in with Trey Benson, and he's going to continue to be able to produce at a high level. And suddenly the Arizona Cardinals have one of the best rushing attacks across the country, across the entire NFL. It's beautiful. You give me a hydra of a triple-headed backfield with James Conner, Cam Skattebo, Trey Benson, life is going to be easy. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. If it's Kyler Murray, if it's Richie Bradshaw, doesn't matter. You're going to have a great situation. And of course, you're activating the Valley from college to the pros. ASU was snubbed a handful of guys at the Combine. We're going to talk about them next on the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let me introduce you to our friends over at Fabric. Life moves fast, especially when you have a family, and one day you're watching your kids take their first steps. Before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it easy to get term life conditions that fit your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch right now. You could be covered in under 10 minutes, and in many cases, no health exam is required. It can give you that peace of mind as a parent that your family is going to be financially protected no matter what happens. It's affordable coverage, too. You can get millions of dollars in coverage for less than $1 a day, so protecting your loved ones doesn't have to break the bank. And of course, it's more than just life insurance. Fabric also offers digital wills and access to investment accounts to help plan for your child's future. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meet, MEET, fabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company. Not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. If you have any questions, just reach out to them. They'll take care of you. One more time, thanks to you guys for tuning in to make us your first listen of the day. And a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. This is a nice and long episode, so don't worry. We're going to make this part nice and quick for you. I understand you've got some important stuff to do, like watching the Combine. Well, unfortunately, Cam Skattebo is going to be the only Arizona State Sun Devil that you will be treated to at the Combine this year. And that's a shame. That is a darn shame, because I can think of 3 players and a 4th who just tugs at my heartstrings that should 100% be in Indianapolis right now. In order, number 1, Shamari Simmons. What on earth is Simmons not doing at the Combine? Are you kidding me? He killed it at the Shrine Bowl. He killed it this past season for Arizona State. He was the defensive MVP. He was the team MVP for ASU. He was so pivotal and important for what has happened in the turnaround for the Sun Devils in 2 years. He comes here in 2023, transfers from Austin Peay. and immediately just gives this defense a backbone from the secondary. And suddenly ASU is just playing exceptional football on defense. And you look at what happened in 2023 and you go, oh, the numbers aren't that great and blah, blah, blah. And I've said this many times. If you watch the games, then you know that ASU was playing much better football than what you saw in the box score. Now look at this past season. There's a surplus of talent at safety. There's Miles Rouser and Xavion Alford is back. What do we do with Shamari Simmons? That's easy. Let's put him at slot. Especially Cole Martin was injured to start the year before missing the remainder of the year due to injury. Shamari Simmons, yeah, let's just put him in a slot. Let's see what happens. Oh, wow. He is a really good slot player. Who would have thought the dude who is just good at football is really good wherever you put him? Run stopping? Yeah, you didn't run at Shamari Simmons, man. Like, there was a lot of good run stoppers last year from the interior of the line to the linebackers, but I don't think anyone played the run better last year than Shamari Simmons did. And he still had some coverage skills too. Like, let's not overlook what he did from playing deep safety to playing in the slot pretty much full time, man. I would imagine he played anywhere from 80% or higher of his snap count to the slot this past year, and he played at an exceptional level. So I don't care. I don't care if he plays corner. I don't care if he plays safety at the next level. He is a versatile guy, and versatility is key in today's NFL. He is good at football. By the way, for being one of college football's best kept secrets, he made some pretty big plays against Texas. In fact, his first drive of the game resulted in a safety when he popped the Texas running back. Yeah, he made plays. He should be there, 100%. Number 2, Lee Futanu. That's another one. What is Lee Futanu not doing there? This is it's a meh center class. There's some guys, for sure. There's guys that are going to be moved inside, though, because there's not a lot of center depth. Like Greg Zabel at North Dakota State. He's played left tackle, right guard. Everyone at the next level is saying, yeah, he's going to move to center. What? He's never played center. That's where he projects best. Okay, I hear you. That's what happened last year with the Duke kid who was drafted by the Buccaneers, right? He was a guard, a tackle. They moved him to center, and he's exceptional. So you're hoping that's what Greg Zabel is. Okay, but what about a true safety in this class? There's some guys who are fine. There's guys. Why is Lee Futanu not amongst the guys that are competing at the combine this week? How many snaps that he has in his career from UNLV to Arizona State? He has been the lone consistent offensive lineman for Arizona State, not just from play, but from a health standpoint too. He did not miss a game with the Sun Devils in his 2 years. And he didn't miss, I think, any time with UNLV prior to that. Consistent. He's a good player. He projects well to the pros, in my opinion, and he's an all-conference player. He was a first-team all-conference player for the Big 12 last year because of how good he is at football. How do you not have someone like that at the combine? Baffling to me. Number 3, Xavier Guillory. Like, I understand that Guillory may not have been the most productive player during his time with the Sun Devils, but here's something that needs to be taken into account more than anything else. When he was called upon last year, he responded. Xavier Guillory, very quietly, was a productive player for the Sun Devils. Like, his first year out here, it was whatever. He only caught 1 touchdown. It was week 1 on a Hail Mary. Like, I get it. Second year out here, 22 catches, 333 yards, 39 yards, 5 touchdowns. That's not bad. The numbers, sure, like, you're going to look at the yardage and the reception, you're going to be like, oh, there's not much there. Okay. Well, let's look at the last 4 games that he played. Against BYU, ranked BYU, 1 reception, 61-yard touchdown. Against U of A, 2 catches, 41 yards, and a touchdown. Against Iowa State in the Big 12 championship, this is where he had to step in for Jordan Tyson, who was knocked out for the year with an injury against U of A. 2 catches, 29 yards, 2 touchdowns. Against Texas, 3 catches, 19 yards. Yeah, it's not much there, but there was not much there when the passing game was considered as a whole because Texas was just controlling the line of scrimmage and and just putting so much pressure in the backfield. Like, it is what it is. However, Xavier Guillory, when asked to step up and be the guy, stepped up and was the guy for this team. He became the number one receiver, which was something that was placed upon him. It was forced on him. And I would tell you that despite the numbers looking like whatever, he stepped into that role, man. And like, he has good speed. He's got good hands. He's got NFL size at 6'2", 200. Like, he looks the part. He's gotten the flashes and everything. I understand why he's not at the combine, but I also feel like he's someone who deserved an invite more than some of the other guys there. I don't know. Just kind of bummed me out. Last guy, and this is bias. More than anything else, this is 100% bias, but I would have loved to have seen Caleb McCullough end up going to the combine this year. Like, he just was so important, man. He stepped up big time for this team when they needed him the most. He ends up leading the linebackers and tackles with 76 when he was asked to step into the number one role. He responded. He had 52 tackles the year before. 6'2", 225 is good size for the modern linebacker. I wish he would have gotten a chance, but you know what? Maybe he will really stand out at the ASU Pro Day whenever that ends up getting scheduled. Those are the guys I feel like got snubbed from the combine. No one more than Shamari Simmons with Lee Fotanu as like a 1A, 1B kind of situation. These are the goals that Cam Skattebo has, according to me, and those are the teams that should be paying the most attention to Skattebo. What did I miss? Is there somebody else who should have been invited to the combine that I didn't have here? What are you hoping to see from Cam Skattebo? And what teams that I didn't mention need to be looking at the people's running back? Let me know in the comments. You can hit me up on YouTube at Richie, or excuse me, you can hit me up on Twitter at RichieBrads36. The podcast is at LO_Sun Devils. The podcast is available on YouTube and wherever you're getting your podcast, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, whatever it might be. We are there and available for free, by the way. I appreciate everybody for tuning in to make us your first listen of the day. And a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Thanks so much, guys. As always, best fans in the world. We have got more content coming up for you guys. Lots of exciting stuff on the way. I'll keep you posted. So make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications. I'll catch you next time. Till then, you keep it logged right here on the Locked On Sun Devils.